Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen Bhan. Joining me now is the Global CEO of Johnson Control, George Oliver, a company that's made it its business to create healthy and sustainable buildings. Always a pleasure. It's great to have you back in India.
It's great to see you again, Shereen, and looking forward to a great dialogue.
You know, it's been a while since you last visited India. I think the last visit was about 5 years ago. You've met with some government ministers. You've done a partnership with the Mahindra Group. You talk about how you believe India is on the cusp of a building revolution. Talk to me about the India opportunity.
Yeah, it starts with understanding what Johnson Controls is all about. You know, we are the leading building solutions, commercial building solutions provider across the globe. Foundation to our strategy is leadership systems. That could be HVAC, controls, fire and security, and then how those systems get deployed with one digital platform, which is our Open Blue platform. And then with the use of the data, that combined with the equipment, then we create outcomes that ultimately change how buildings operate. And by doing so, we can make buildings much more sustainable. And you can reduce energy being consumed 30, 40, 50%. At the same time, you're elevating the air quality of the building, which contributes to health and wellness, productivity. And then ultimately, that same digital platform is what changes the occupant experience within the building. And so what we've learned here, obviously sustainability, driving the energy transition here in India is a priority. Mm-hmm. And so as we've aligned what we can do and aligned with industry leaders like Mahindra, we put together a framework, which is getting to net zero buildings initiative with Mahindra. And that we've laid out the roadmap to how, sustainable buildings now are not only designed, but then how they're built and then executed over the life cycle. And the combination of their depth and expertise with ours really has enabled us now to really look at that full value creation over the life cycle of a building. And that has set the stage for what can be possible. And when you look at the built environment here, contrary to the rest of the world, 70% of the built environment in the rest of the world is going to be in operation in 2050. So all of the commitments that have been made by governments and by companies to get to net zero, it's going to require upgrading the existing built environment, deploying digital, and changing the outcomes. What's unique here is 3/4 of the building stock that will be in operation in 2050 is actually still to be built. Mm-hmm. So it's an incredible opportunity to leapfrog, to be able to deploy technology that exists today, to be able to utilize digital and the use of the data to fundamentally change buildings for the future. And so that's what's exciting about the work that we're doing with Mahindra.
On the partnership with Mahindra, it is a non-commercial partnership that you have. But what do you intend to do with this toolkit? I mean, is it going to be monetizable at some point?
So what we've learned, and that's why Mahindra and Johnson Controls, we share a lot of the values and the work that we're doing around sustainability, and that's what brought us together. And we also participate on different organizations like the Sustainable Markets Initiative, working with CEOs within the building space across the globe, and really now having set the stage and defining what is possible. Because there's a lot of technology that exists today that can be deployed and get you a significant way to getting to net zero just by addressing buildings. Buildings represent 40% of the global carbon. And so that you don't get to net zero without solving for buildings. And so what we've done is the work that we've done together with them in these groups is to then take what we've learned, put it together into a framework, and then we can be not only the thought leaders, but the ability to be able to then convert and to deploy that technology more broadly across the markets. And that's what our intent is. And we've now set the stage. We believe that there is a lot of opportunity that we can work together, even though this is not a commercial agreement. It's really ability to be able to take our depth and expertise, share that, and then be able to scale the industry and really accelerate the transition that we believe can occur.
So let's talk about India specifically from the point of view of acceleration as well as potential growth. When you talk about the fact that India is on the cusp of a building revolution, what could that mean for you from your revenue perspective in India, from your growth perspective in India specifically?
Well, let me give you the footprint that we have today. We have about 8,500 employees. In Johnson Controls globally, we have about 100,000 employees pretty much across the globe. So it is a significant part of our business today. It is the highest growth that we have across the globe. So we've increased our workforce here by about 20%, 25%, just in the last 18, 24 months. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at what we have here, we have 5 engineering centers. And so a significant amount of our engineering, research, and design, not just for India, but for the world, actually is happening here. And so it's an incredible footprint that we have, not only what we're doing to innovate for the market here in India, but being able to leverage that globally. And then when you look at the growth and you see what's happening economically, it's very impressive what's happening here within the country. And I think it is the combination of the public and private sector coming together, the alignment on the initiatives around decarbonization, sustainability, renewable energies. It's very impressive with how that energy transition has gone here, with the percent of the energy that's actually coming from renewable supply is one of the highest in the world. And so I think as we think about the progress that's already been made, the ability now to be able to accelerate. And so for us, it's localizing. I'll be celebrating an expansion in our manufacturing footprint in Pune tomorrow, that's where we build all of our heavy applied equipment, water-cooled chillers, air-cooled chillers, air handling equipment that's important for the local market and being able to deploy the type of solutions that we can deploy for data centers. And data centers, given what's going to happen here over the next decade, is going to be a tremendous growth opportunity. And what we do in Johnson Controls, although it's a great market opportunity, we can help accelerate that market because of the improvement that we can bring. And so bringing our leadership equipment, like even with the new technologies around heat pumps, where heat pumps today, with the temperature differentials that you can achieve, doing both the heating and cooling, replacing some of the fossil fueled equipment in the building. So when you think about the most sustainable infrastructure, it's electrification of the equipment, which is then deployed with digital and the use of data. And then that is what ultimately then drives the optimization of that equipment and service through the life cycle. And so I think the combination of those pieces coming together, for us, we believe there's tremendous, not only amount of infrastructure growth, but within that infrastructure growth, with the value proposition that we bring, a tremendous opportunity for Johnson Controls because of the differentiated solutions that we bring to the market.
So let me pick up on both those points, and I'll start with manufacturing first, because you said you're going to make an announcement on expansion tomorrow. Yeah. So give us an indication of what we're talking about in terms of incremental capex from here.
Yeah, so we've been, our whole manufacturing strategy globally is to make sure that we're local for local markets, and that we have the right footprint, the right technology deployment, the right manufacturing supply chain locally. And that's what we've been working to do to build here, because we see this growth opportunity to be some of the highest growth across the globe, and that it's important that we're local to be able to serve the local market, both from a cost, supply chain, but then from a speed and execution, being able to capitalize on the demand. And so there's millions of dollars of investment that we're putting in to not only the product that's going to be built here, but as important, the manufacturing footprint that's going to be localized here. And then that will also enable us to be able to build up a robust supply chain of all of the components that we ultimately utilize to build the equipment that we're going to be building here. So it's an exciting time for us.
So will you then need to set up more manufacturing capacity as you look out the next 5 to 10 years, and given the opportunity that you see, do you believe you will need to beef up manufacturing capacity?
I mean, we look at all of our products and the ability to not only differentiate the product from a R&D engineering standpoint, and a lot of that work is being done here, but then being able to then have the capacity to be able to produce for the volumes that are going to be achieved. There's going to be significant growth. When you look at some of the key end markets, whether it be data centers, commercial buildings, a lot of, like I would say institutional government spaces, that really does play to our strengths and how we ultimately can serve those verticals.
Could you give me a split of the kind of growth that you're seeing on the private sector opportunity in India as well as the government side? Because between the center as well as individual state governments, in fact, capex is being driven by government spending today.
I think what we've done here as we've really led this transition of getting to smart, sustainable buildings, smart, sustainable, healthy buildings, is educating governments across the globe, because it's really understanding not only the possibility that we have within buildings, but then the how, and how you deploy the technology and the capabilities that can fundamentally change how buildings operate. So we've done tremendous work across the globe, working with all governments. And what we've learned is when you bring the governments together with the opportunity, not only with the regulations and the policies and the stimuluses that are put into place, getting that aligned to the private sector that deploys the capital, that ultimately drives innovation, drives the capacity. That is what's worked well. And what I see happening here, it's leading by example. It's the government leading by example of being able to leverage the technology and the capabilities, demonstrate how it can be done, and then that ultimately then accelerates the ability to be able to get it more broadly deployed. And I think that is well underway here.
On the engineering side, you spoke about how you've added about 20% more to your workforce here. On the engineering side, are you going to be able to continue to do that kind of an incremental number? Is that what you're considering
So
at this point in time?
We're a technical company. Think of us as an industrial digital company. So the core of us is leadership product, being able to then have a leadership digital platform that ultimately extracts all of the data from the building, and then with that data creates new outcomes with the application of AI and fundamentally change how buildings will operate, not only operationally for the efficiency and the energy reduction, but also for the occupant, creating a much healthier environment, understanding the occupancy, the utilization, and then all of the other functionality that you would expect on a mobile device. So when you're in the building, you've got the connectivity to all of the other elements of what you do during the course of the day to make you productive. And so that, when we think about engineering here, this is our core. And as we continue to expand globally and continue to expand not only our product portfolio, but as important, our digital deployment and how we're now not only extracting, connecting, being able to extract the data, and then with one data set, fundamentally changing how buildings are going to operate. That is what we're going to continue to invest here in India.
I also want to get your read on what you believe is going on in China at this point in time. And, the real estate sector is in significant amount of pain. In fact, could it cause a potential systemic risk is the big question at this point in time. And that's impacted your business as well. What's the outlook on China?
Yeah, so when we look at our business here, we are the industry leader with our commercial building solutions there. And so we've had, over time, very attractive growth. And that's going to continue. I mean, we had a situation where, with the second COVID shutdown, there was a lot of recovery of building up our backlog. Some of that may be pushed to the right a bit. And so we are adjusting for that short term. But as we look at the pipeline, I mean, we provide our building solutions to all of the key end markets within China. We see continued, net of maybe there's pressure on commercial real estate, but there's other data centers and other areas that still have very attractive growth, some of the institutional space. And so as we look at our pipeline and the key verticals that we serve, we believe that as we get through the second half, we're going to start to see decent growth coming back. And so for us, it's more of a little bit of a timing thing that we've seen short term, but we feel great about our product. We have one of our best factories there in China that operates extremely well. And then, like I said, from a market back standpoint, we see very attractive opportunities to continue.
You talked about data centers, and since everyone's talking about AI and the potential opportunities that AI brings to the table, it's about 13-14% of revenues globally for you today, the data center business. What do you see that growing to, given what's going on with the world?
I think it's clear to say that we're going to see double-digit growth in that space because of the strength that we have within the portfolio serving data centers. Like I said, we're the industry leader with all of the cooling technologies. So when you look at water-cooled chillers or air-cooled chillers or some of the packaged cooling systems that we deploy, when you look at the future data centers, they're going to run hotter because of AI chips. They're going to require more cooling. We're going to have to be innovative because space becomes limited. And so how data centers are built and ultimately how they're utilizing space will matter. Data centers, they're going to have to be in places where there's going to be energy supply, enough power supply, and then with the transition to renewable supply. And so those are all the factors that are coming into play as we work with all of our customers in laying out what their roadmaps are. And then as a technology partner, as a solutions partner, how do we then co-innovate and make sure that they're positioned to be able to achieve their growth ambitions. And you can imagine it is significant across the board. So for us, we believe that we can get a higher market share in that space because of the differentiation with the combination of our HVAC equipment, cooling technology, with the use of digital, with connected data centers, that there's tremendous growth opportunity. So that percentage will continue to grow as a percent of revenue for Johnson Controls.
As a leader today, how do you look at being able to fortify yourself from the vulnerabilities that so much of tech adoption opens up a company like yours too?
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, you know, when companies have these type of events and the impact that that has to our operations. What I would say is the way that our team responded to that, and we had very robust business continuity plans in place. We quickly got through the event as we got through the first quarter. Certainly we had an impact from that on the first quarter. But what I would tell you is the momentum is back. You know, we're back operating at full steam as we get into our second quarter.
Coming back to the India opportunity, potential inorganic opportunities as well that you scout for here in India?
Yeah, we always, it's part of our strategy. So again, it gets back to how do we continue to make sure we're positioned with leadership product? And is there other technologies or products that we ultimately need to add to that portfolio to maintain our leadership position? So when you look at those pieces, the answer is yes. I mean, we're always looking at how do we take the core of our strategy that is actually really beginning to come through and work extremely well. How do you enhance that then with the ability to be able to create speed, because we can add to that model and ultimately execute.
I want you to sort of give me a forecast of what you believe the India business could potentially be in terms of revenue over the next 5 years, given the opportunities that you see.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is happening here, we're roughly, when you total our revenues today, we're about $500 million in revenue. And I think given the growth rates and the opportunity that we see with our differentiation, our localization of the product, our the whole digital deployment of our solutions, there's no reason why this couldn't double in the next 5 years or more. We have an operating system that right from customer right through the execution to the delivery to the customer, we're doing it now seamlessly locally. And I think that is what during my visit here, in the recognition that that system is working. And we've had a number of engagements over the last few days with ministers and with customers and with partners like Mahindra. Everyone shares the same excitement.
So let me end then by asking you about the innovations that you're working on, that you're excited about, and that give us a glimpse into the future of healthy, sustainable buildings.
Well, I'm an engineer, so I mean, one thing I do love about my job is the technology and the work that we do around R&D, and I engage with our engineers across the globe. And I couldn't be more excited about the breakthrough technologies that are coming through. And when you look at if you look at our commercial HVAC business and the ability to be able to always be a step ahead around the efficiency of these systems, and those systems then utilizing the lowest global warming potential refrigerant, which is a big deal to our customers, how we're configuring those systems now with data centers, because data centers are going to be different, they're going to run hotter, and then how do you ultimately provide the cooling technology that achieves their goals but also does it sustainably, is exciting. And there's a lot of innovation. When you ask the customers relative to the value that Johnson Controls brings, it's our technology and it's our technician. And when the technician, the delivery of our technology, when we ask customers what drives your success, it's the technician. And so what we see now with this transformation within Johnson Controls, we're giving our technicians the tools, the digital capabilities to fundamentally change what they do. And the value creation is a huge step up from what historically we've done, because we've been more of a mechanical break-fix service company. Now we're a technology, we've gone to a technology, digital, data-driven, outcome-based company.
What is the leadership mantra that you live by, that you drive to create value?
So I'm crazy about this around cycle times, because I think for 40 some odd years, technology cycles have been long and they continue to get shortened. And then here I am 40 years into my career. Now they're what used to be at least months or years. It's now days and weeks and maybe months. So the amount of technology, and I continue to coach our teams that we've deployed our organization in an agile framework. So we believe that we have to have functional excellence across everything we do. If you're operating slower than the cycles that ultimately the market is experiencing, you're going to be left behind. And so we're crazy about this speed, creating agility, market customer back, getting the functional excellence that's required to be able to execute successfully right from customer to ultimately delivery. And then the culture that we build on with that is one that we're all totally aligned. We're totally focused on the value creation customer, and then ultimately for all of our constituents, that then translates into incredible value for all of our constituents.
Well, we hope that you continue to deliver value for customers as well as for all stakeholders. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us on CNBC-TV18. It's great to have you back in India, and we look forward to more visits.
It's great to be back. I'll be here more frequently. There's great work happening here, and I think the opportunities that we see here are pretty significant for our company. So again, it's great being back with you, and I look forward to coming back soon.
Well, absolutely. We look forward to that as well. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team, for now, goodbye and thanks very much for watching.